9:39 Central African time, and you're still tuned in to News and Views. Myself, Salailo Makudere, and we're going to be switching gears now to a very, very important conversation, a legal battle that is playing out in South Africa, and it is reigniting a very, very difficult and increasingly polarizing global debate. How far does free speech extend when discussing highly charged political conflict? I'm referencing this because of a story. Activist Megan Choritz, I'm sure you know her. She's come onto the show a few times. She's with the South African Jews for a Free Palestine. Well, she is resisting a defamation case brought against her in what has been described by supporters as a strategic lawsuit against public participation, commonly known as a SLAPP suit. The case centers one statement made in relation to the Israeli genocide against the people of Palestine, an issue that many consider polarizing and legally sensitive. I don't know why, in public discourse. And we're going to be unpacking this. We'll be having an in-depth conversation into this modus operandi with Hassen, Lorgat, very good friend of the show and social justice activist, and is joining us via our virtual platform. Dr. Lorgat, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for the work you guys are doing in educating people around these hate crimes against African people. Thank you for that.
Pleasure as well. I was really appreciated. I want to jump in, into the issue at hand. This very, very specific case involving Megan Choritz. For our listeners who might not be familiar with the issue, do you mind just unpacking for us, giving us some context and background?
Yeah, Megan, as you say, is a member of a anti-Zionist group, South African Jews for Free Palestine, and she's been very vocal against the occupation of Palestine and the genocide, and recently has come into quite a lot of prominence. And it seems that in the current context in Cape Town in particular, where in a lot of litigation against activists, Cape Union Mart, University of Cape Town, around the different definitions that the university was seeking to adopt to explain what should guide them around anti-Semitism. You then have this particular action, and it seems very systematic that as the movements become stronger, the resistance equally becomes more bolder, but they're using the law to try and stop activists from speaking truth to power, as we say. So Megan had been very vocal. She used one of her platforms, the Substack, as well as TikTok, to articulate views which Professor Adam Mendelsohn regards as being defamatory, and essentially they've resorted to the court again to try and stop her from doing what she's doing. They are trying to, the summons that they issued her basically accuses her that she was publishing statements that was injuring his reputation, and is seeking 500,000 rands in damages, 250,000 for the articles on TikTok, and 250,000 for the other piece. So in a way, what I was trying to do in the article, I was trying to say that the media, you guys, can either play a good role or a bad role. The journalists here seem more intent on talking about the courage of Professor Mendelsohn than the courage of, Ms. Choritz, who's an activist with no real popular financial means, etc., like the other. And she's not a professor. She hasn't got top lawyers, Currently, she's trying to see how to respond to this. And the media can either play a role of being an imbongi or izimbongi, praising the powerful, or questioning What did she do wrong that she has to be singled out of many others who has said things about your role in perpetuating the oppression of Palestinians? Now, we can do that in various ways because he's taking issue that it's not him directly, but he's a director of a center that promotes Jewish studies. And in the forthcoming piece that I'm working on, I'm basically saying, I'm going to be arguing that this guy, although he's been accused of Islamophobia, and those kind of things, and supporting the genocide, I'm trying to say, but these are the very issues that he was engaging in publicly over the last 6-10 years, maybe, right, as a professor. And there are many people who've criticized him, right? And why is it that he's picking on her? If it's not to send a message to you, the media, Salam media, activists like me, various other people, that, hey, you mess with us, you will get this. You'll get this.
I want us to park it right there because I want to go for a quick ad break, and I think I want to expand on that. The classic SLAPP suit. This modus operandi, which is meant to intimidate activists like yourself, to intimidate media practitioners like us, and how this could be a classic case of that. Because I think it's a very, very important point that we need to unpack a lot more on, and we'll do that after the short break.
Good.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness. And every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and freezer card calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Right now, in lands many of us feel deeply connected to, a mother holds a sick child, worried and fearful as she knows her nearest hospital has been destroyed. This is the mother we go beyond borders to reach. Doctors Without Borders is there in the world's toughest places. We go where others can't or won't, and we go immediately. When you give to us, we go even further. Visit msf.org.za/sadaqa, that's SADAQAH, and support Doctors Without Borders today. Doctors Without Borders, we go there.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Africa. Give the gift of clean water with Africa Muslims Agency. With every water well or borehole you donate, your drop becomes a river, reconnecting communities to nourishment, education, dignity and empowerment. Sponsor a water well for 17,000 Rand in Africa or a borehole for 65,000 Rand in Afghanistan or Africa. Quench the thirst. Reconnect the soul with Africa Muslims Agency.
At Dynasty Islamic, we believe your financial future should grow with purpose and in line with your values. We specialize in Sharia-compliant financial solutions designed to protect, grow, and preserve your wealth. Whether it's investment planning, risk cover, or structuring your legacy, our approach is rooted in transparency, integrity, and ethical principles. Too often, people invest without knowing if their money aligns with their beliefs. At Dynasty Islamic, we change that, offering you clarity, confidence, and peace of mind. Let us help you build a future that's not only financially secure, but spiritually aligned. Dynasty Islamic, where your wealth meets your values. Get in touch with us at info@dynastyislamicfas.co.za, visit www.dynastyislamic.com, or find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Welcome back. 9 minutes before top of the hour, and you're still tuned in to News and Views with myself, Salailo Makudira. And if you just joined us, I'm in conversation with social justice activist Hassen Lorgat, and we examined the growing debate around free speech, around activism, and defamation. This following legal action against activist Choritz, and what it could mean for public participation and, most importantly, accountability. Hasan, before we went on to that short break, you were still unpacking, the classic SLAPP suit, and how it is meant to intimidate activists. Speaking, I think, in recent times, most importantly, the genocide in Gaza. Based on what you know, does that framing hold up legally, or is it more of a political interpretation, as some may ask?
Yeah, I mean, let me just start from the beginning, if you like. The SLAPP suits are strategic litigation against public participation. And we are indebted to a law professor, George Pring, and a sociologist, Penelope Cannon. They helped to define this, in their own book that they wrote, SLAPP, Getting Sued for Speaking Out. And it's interesting that Penelope, I've just done some homework more recently about her. She's been active around coal activism and with communities and that. And they basically conclude that SLAPPs are often either baseless or exaggerated lawsuits. And it seems that the main aim is not to get justice for this injury that the person or the boss or someone allegedly suffered, but to intimidate those who speak out, the whistleblowers, the activists, the journalists. So it's the goal is to silence free speech and advocacy by targeting us who work in NGOs, either directly or our organization, with large amount of money that we cannot afford to pay. Even so, even if we can afford to, it takes away the money that we have raised to do broadcasting, or the money that we've raised to do work around mine waste and tailings. It takes that away to try and sort out this particular problem. Now, in our country, interestingly enough, the Center for Environmental Rights have been dealing with this from 2017, where two of their own lawyers and a community activist were involved. You know the company that in Kolobeni, the Minerals Commodities Limited Company, Toman Mine, in that part of the world, where the mine basically sued their lawyers and their activists, the work around the mine, the Wild Coast, following the assassination of Bazuka Khadebe. You remember that? That is when the first kind of one that really reared its head. It must have happened elsewhere in different forms. But this then went to high courts with some good judgments, eventually ending up in the Constitutional Court. in 2022, where the judgment was not necessarily that clear against SLAPP suits, but at least what happened, the matter was raised there, warning the public that this is an issue. Increasingly, as we say, the most active cases where these SLAPP suits are used are in environment, mining type of cases, but also in Europe and in the US against activists who speak up for Palestine. And this has now come home.
I want to play devil's advocate for a moment here, because this is a question that critics would also ask. If you make public allegations about individuals or organizations, you must also be prepared to defend them in court. What do you make of this? Do you agree with that principle?
Yeah, I mean, if you are acting in good faith, Selailo, and you're engaging there, you don't want to quibble to say, you got that word wrong, etc., etc. Public interest journalism, public interest activism, the kind of stuff that you do, we will 90-somewhat% get it right, and then sometimes maybe something small wrong. And you shouldn't be bullied for that small one. If you're engaging in the public discourse here, but let me tell you about Professor Mendelsohn. He, in 6 years ago, he tried to have a seminar. It was COVID time. And he had one activist on a panel that happened to be aligned to SAJFP and BDS. And he resisted efforts at that time to remove the person from the panel, right? And that is to his credit that he did that. But I must tell you, it seems that subsequent to that, he has taken steps to basically challenge South Africa's right to take the ICJ case, saying that it cannot be called genocide, saying that Israel will not, as a decent nation, be targeting children deliberately. He has engaged all the kind of things that and in fact, and Choritz has even said that he is Islamophobic. Now, and his lecture is one of them where he rebuts some of these issues. And Megan Choritz is not the only one who has raised criticism of him and demanding that we rightfully show another point of view, that is the right to dissent and to protest it. So, you can be a devil's advocate, and I don't want to be accused of calling their advocates that working for the devil, because that would be another SLAPP suit. I think what you're trying to do, you're trying to provoke thinking into the issue in a more broader way. But what I've just pointed out in a debate, for example, in Business Day, he basically says in a conversation with Lamola, saying that South Africa took a gamble to take the ICJ case, right? And that he ends his article by saying, and I want to quote here, Lamola and South Africa's name will be added to a long and sad list of those willing to think the worst of Jews. Words matter, particularly when they come to be from people of positions of authority. If this charge is ultimately refuted, Lamola's reputation won't be saved, even if some of his best friends are Jewish. Okay, he's being creatively writing there. Now the point is, South Africa has a moral justice obligation in terms of the Geneva, the Genocide Convention. As nations, they have to domesticate this. And if you believe with good reason that there's a genocide taking place, as many of the scholars, Jewish and others, have said is happening in Palestine, and South Africa were the front runners. I almost said in Afrikaans, die voorlopers. Yeah. And they saw this, but based on good study, the rhetoric of the leaders, the statements from the president, Gallant, the ministers of defense, Netanyahu, all of them. I mean, there is clear intent. And this is something that I think that Mendelssohn in various of his engagements tries to say did not take place. So for me, it begs the question, this is the guy who's written about this issue widely. It's in the public domain. Why is it that you go after Meghan? Right? There's a beautiful podcast called Bad Jews, which did a very good critique on Mendelssohn's lecture, the inaugural lecture that is at the butt of all this, and that and they raised a few criticism, even touching on the issue about his insinuation, because he quoted in his lecture a quote from Imtiaz Suleiman, The Gift of the Givers, because it was also his opposition to Imtiaz Suleiman being recognized as a humanitarian doing good work for wherever their cause is required. And they even touch on that, saying that no, their own experiences with the guy, that is not an anti-Semite. So this is all out there. The question is, why go for Meghan? If it's not to hit someone whom they think is vulnerable, punish them and send a warning to others. That is not the kind of thing that I think a professor should be engaging in, and technically speaking, if someone is frivolous, they could go for us for even commenting on this. But no, we are democracy. We're not the United States of America. We're not. The groundwork here, they're trying. In the UK, there are SLAPP suits. The courts have gone crazy. The Palestine legal are being under attack. And the space is closing so much down. In Germany, Holocaust survivors get bullied by police when they protest. We cannot have that. We fought hard to articulate different views. Sometimes those not responsible enough use the space we fought for to articulate views against democracy, against free speech, and even arguing about hate and killing of foreigners and that. And that is overstepping the marks. But they still get airtime, a lot of airtime.
Just quickly, before we wrap up, I want you to respond to this because this is coming from our WhatsApp line. This is John from the East Rand, and he's asking, dear Selailo, you should ask your guest if he is saying activism should be exempt from defamation standards simply because it is framed as human rights advocacy. Quickly, before we wrap up, let's answer that question.
I think that I wouldn't, for example, regard many of March people as being activists in the sense that they speak against power that is denied to communities or water and electricity. I would so the point is, I think he raises the question is that not all activists, but those who speak in the public interest, in the general, not a particularistic, hateful agenda, are the ones that can get protection under this. But those who seek to harm others through lies, distortions, and that shouldn't get protection. So yes, it's a qualifier, that if you're out to lie and distort, clearly you shouldn't get protection from this court because it's willful negligence of fair play rules,
There we go. Social justice activist Hassen Lorgat, I think unpacking a very, very important conversation for us. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate it, and I hope we chat again soon.
Thank you very much, and keep up the good work, guys.
Appreciate it. And with that, we've come to the end of today's edition of News and Views. Thank you so much for joining us for the past 2 hours and 3 minutes. I'll be back with you again tomorrow for the Thursday edition of the show. What to look forward to on the station? Well, Wednesday Nights with your Night Wadi is back 7 until 9 p.m. later today. A range of conversations are going to be had on that show. Obviously, the focus being on the events of yesterday and just the general discourse around legal migration in South Africa and how it should be responded to. So that's a show to look forward to. Wednesday Nights with the Night Wadi, 7 to 9 p.m. Otherwise, from myself, Selailo Makwidiri, and the rest of the team, it's bye for now. Shap, shap.